We are finally back with MLB Players We Forgot About Part 4. It's been a little over a month since my last installment, so the time seemed right to bring this series back. Not gonna waste much time before we get started today. We got 8 players, some of them more recognizable than the others, but before we do all that, let's get today's sponsor out of the way. Joe Musgrove and Carlos Rodon both achieved great things within a week of each other by both throwing no-hitters. But for them to do that, they had to have max composure and comfort on the mound. This is why I think they might have been using Manscaped's products, because they're the global leaders in men's below-the-waist grooming. Spring has sprung and Manscaped has the best tools to get you ready with these amazing products. Whether it's the Weed Whacker and its 9,000 RPM motor, or the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver for your below-the-waist area, Manscaped will keep you smelling fresh and complete your grooming game this spring. Smell good and feel good, and in the process, you can get 20% off and free shipping with my code OLIVE at manscaped.com. Quality products usually come at a luxury price, but thanks to Manscaped, we're working together to help you guys save a little bit while keeping yourself groomed to the highest degree. That's promo code OLIVE for 20% off and free shipping. The first entry on today's list might have been the best closer in baseball during his prime. John Axford was originally selected by the Seattle Mariners in the 7th round of the 2001 draft, but went to Notre Dame instead. This actually turned out poorly for Axford, as he was later drafted back in the 42nd round by the Reds and ended up becoming a minor league free agent. After off seasons working as a cell phone salesman and bartender, he finally clawed his way to the bigs with the Brewers in 2009. He wouldn't truly ascend until a year later. After Trevor Hoffman of all people posted a 5.89 ERA as the Brewers closer, Axford was given the reins after not closing once during his time in the minors. However, he'd win over the Milwaukee faithful quickly with his iconic Rolly Fingers mustache and spectacular play on the mound. After finishing 2010 with a strong 2.48 ERA and 24 saves, Axford blew his first 2 saves of the 2011 season. Fans were worried for about 5 seconds, because Axford would convert all of his remaining 46 save opportunities across the year for the division-winning crew. His 1.95 ERA, 1.14 WHIP, and 10.5 K per 9 were among the best in all relievers in the big leagues. He continued his success into the postseason, appearing in 6 games and racking up 3 saves and a 1.29 ERA. In his remarkable 2011 season, Axford would place 9th in Cy Young voting and 17th in MVP voting, just going to show how truly dominant he was for that brief stretch. Even in this 2-season run as the dominant closer for the Brewers, Axford would never make the All-Star team, but he would go on to have a 10-year career, retiring in 2018, recording 144 career saves with a 3.87 ERA in 543 career games. If you remember John Axford, good job, but I gotta say, the rest of the entries on this list get a little bit more difficult. Let's see who's next. If I ever make a video about forgotten rookie sensations, you can bet your life savings that Andrew Bailey will be making an appearance. Andrew Bailey was selected by the Oakland Athletics in the 6th round of the 2006 MLB draft. He made the Athletics opening day 25-man roster for the 2009 season as a long shot, but after early struggles from closer Brad Ziegler, Bailey was unexpectedly thrust into the closer role by early May. However, he would take the job and run, posting outstanding rookie numbers. He'd have a 1.84 ERA and 26 saves, including not letting up a single run in 22 of his last 23 appearances on the year. This would lead him to win the AL Rookie of the Year award in 2009. He'd win over the likes of Elvis Andrus and future Cy Young Rick Porcello. LOL. And he'd make the All-Star team in his first 2 seasons as a big league reliever. From 2009 to 2010, no closer posted a better ERA than Andrew Bailey's 1.70 mark, and only Mariano Rivera and Neftali Feliz would post better whips than Bailey's 0.91. He would convert 75 of 84 save attempts for an 89% success rate. When Bailey left for the Boston Red Sox, things began to go wrong, as he had just 19 games in 2012, missed everything in 2014, and then 10 games in 2015 as a Yankee before it became known that Bailey was an injury liability. Still, a really nice start to his career holds him as a footnote in recent MLB history. Alright, let's switch it up and get our first hitter on the board for today. After defecting from Cuba, Dayan Vicieto agreed to a 4-year, $10 million contract with the Chicago White Sox in December of 2008. He'd get called up to their main roster in August of 2011 because of an injury to Carlos Quentin, and he took off from there. As a starter in 2012, he had career highs in games played, home runs, and RBIs. He would have an absolutely monster month in May of that year, hitting 8 home runs with 24 RBIs to go along with a .351 batting average and a .995 OPS. OPS. This, however, would be the peak of our friend Dayan. Despite being known for his offensive production, Vicieto managed to have a 21 home run season with an OPS under 700 in 2014. This was also his final season in the bigs. He'd be DFA'd by the White Sox, bounce around the minors with the Jays and A's, and he'd finally land in Japan in 2016. With the Chunichi Dragons, Vicieto started his Japanese career by setting a record in the NPB with 3 homers in his first 3 games against the Hanshin Tigers. In 2018, Vicieto slashed a .348 batting average and an OPS above .950 with 26 home runs to claim the batting title in the Nippon Professional League. In December of the same year, he'd re-signed with the Dragons for a 3-year, $10 million deal. So, this one has a happy ending. Good for our guy, he got the bag. Next up is probably our most obscure entry of the day, brought to you by a good friend of mine, who wrote a great article on this very player that you can find in the description below. Cla Meredith was drafted in the 6th round of the 2004 draft by the Boston Red Sox. He made his major league debut in May of 2005, and a calendar year later he was traded to the Padres, where he was about to start dealing in the big leagues for the first time. He'd have his worst outing as a Padre on July 17th, surrendering 2 runs on 3 hits to the Phillies without recording an out. But after this, he hunkered down. He would pitch 28 consecutive games without allowing a run, beginning with a scoreless 7th inning against the Phillies the next day, and not allowing a run for 33 2/3 more innings, ending on September 17th against the Dodgers. His 1.07 ERA and 170 batting average against led the National League with a minimum of 50 innings pitched. This streak also set a franchise record for the Padres, and tied Oral Hershiser's mark in 1984 for the second longest scoreless streak by a rookie since 1970. He had 2 scoreless appearances in the postseason as well, but Cla Meredith never replicated his rookie success, relied upon heavily in the next 3 seasons in San Diego, and having 2 more years in Baltimore before hanging up the cleats for good. To this day, his historic streak is largely forgotten because he didn't sustain success over a long period of time, which is why he makes the cut on today's list. Also, no, I didn't make a typo in his name, and it's not pronounced Cla, it's Clay. It just looks like that. We're up with another relief pitcher, and this one might be my favorite on the list. After balling out in high school, Joel Hanrahan rejected an offer from the University of Nebraska and was selected in the 2nd round by the Los Angeles Dodgers in the 2000 MLB draft. He'd make it to AAA by 2004, but his struggles as a starting pitcher would cause his release from the organization. After making a couple starts for the Washington Nationals, he'd be flipped to Pittsburgh in a trade involving Nyjer Morgan of all people. This is where his success truly began. In 2010 for the Pirates, Joel Hanrahan struck out 100 batters in 69 .2 innings for an absurd 12.9 K/9 rate. For his efforts, he'd be the designated closer for the 2011 season and did not disappoint. He would collect 40 saves in 2011 alone to go with a 1.83 ERA, including an ERA below 1 and a WHIP below .75 between the months of May, June, and July. Hanrahan's success rate in save situations in his 2 dominant years as the Pirates closer would be 90.4%. He'd convert 76 saves over the 2 seasons, making the All-Star team in both seasons. Only J.J. Putz, Jose Valverde, Craig Kimbrell, and the aforementioned John Axford would have more saves in this 2-season window. Hanrahan would be traded to Boston like Andrew Bailey, where he'd lock down his 100th career save, but back-to-back Tommy John surgeries would cut his career short before he could get any more saves locked down. Hanrahan tends to get forgotten because his success with the Pirates was right before their postseason run, and for their playoff teams, they had a very iconic closer in Jason Grilli. Next hitter, step on up. During the 2012 season, Willie Rosario saw action in 117 games with the Rockies. He'd end up finishing 4th in 2012 Rookie of the Year voting after hitting .270 with 28 home runs and 71 RBIs. He would top all MLB catchers in home runs that year, and would throw out 30 of 64 runners who tried stealing on him. In terms of the Rookie of the Year voting, he would outplace Matt Carpenter of the Cardinals, Yonder Alonso, and Nori Aoki, all of whom would end up having longer MLB careers than him. He'd manage an OPS above 800 in both 2012 and 2013, however, the Coors effect certainly applied to Rosario. In the aforementioned time frame, his home OPS was 884 compared to his road OPS of 755. He'd also lead the league in pass balls in 2012, making himself known as a defensive liability but offensive powerhouse. However, this inadvertently set a timer on his MLB career, as his downturn in production at the plate resulted in the Rockies DFAing him in 2015. Rosario would sign with the Hanwha Eagles of the KBO for the 2016 season, and in 2 seasons with the Eagles, he hit .330 with 70 home runs and 231 RBIs. He also made a pit stop in the NPB, playing for the Hanshin Tigers in 2017, and has played as recently as 2020 in the Mexican League. This next entry is a bit of a personal pick, as Oswaldo Garcia is one of these forgotten players that inexplicably still rattles in my brain all these years later for no apparent reason. Garcia signed with the Twins as an undrafted amateur free agent in 2007, and he was named their minor league hitter of the year in 2012 after hitting .320 with 17 homers and 98 RBIs. 6 years after his initial signing, Garcia finally reached the bigs. His first major league home run came off Jose Fernandez, and he would finish with a respectable 20 home runs and a 752 OPS in 2014, but I don't actually think I remember Garcia for his good play. To be honest, he could smack the cover off the ball, but he wasn't very good at much else. His 31.0 K percentage in 2014 was 9th worst in the MLB to go along with his negative 1.4 defensive WAR. What I remember him for is the crazy 2016 he had. Now, I do feel bad because this must have been hell to go through, but Garcia played for 4 different teams across just 53 games. 32 games in Minnesota before being flipped to Tampa for cash, 21 games there before hitting waivers, just 2 games across the street in Miami, and finally ending in San Diego with 14 games before hanging up his MLB cleats. Eesh. The final entry on today's list is also our first starting pitcher. Vance Worley was originally drafted in the 20th round by the Phillies in 2005 before attending college. He was selected again by the Phillies in 2008, this time in the 3rd round. In April of 2011, he was called up to the majors to be the team's 5th starter when Joe Blanton was put on the disabled list. From June 18th to September 8th of that season, the Phillies would win every single one of his 14 games started in that time frame. He was truly something of a good luck charm for the Philadelphia team. Vance Worley's 3.01 ERA would rank 20th in the league in 2011 among pitchers with at least 130 innings pitched. He was a surprise weapon for the dominant 2011 Phillies rotation as the anchor behind their veterans. Vance Worley found success again in 2014 for a competitive Pirates team, posting a 2.85 ERA over 17 games started. Going back to 2011, he would place 3rd in National League Rookie of the Year voting, finishing behind division rivals Freddie Freeman and Craig Kimbrell respectively. Fun fact, 5 of the 6 top finalists for National League Rookie of the Year all played in the NL East when you add in Wilson Ramos and Danny Espinosa of the Washington Nationals. The Phillies would capitalize off his success in a trade with the Minnesota Twins that acquired them Ben Revere, and Worley would finish his career with a 4.09 ERA in 163 games split between the rotation and bullpen. Alright guys, that's all I got for you today. I'm the Jolly Olive, and I'll see you guys next time.